What is up, YouTube? So, you're going to be watching this video once the Guild War tournament has basically ended, and whether we have won or lost, I don't know. But I'll be basically documenting every single defense that we be using for the tournament. So, the first defense is going to be Freerin, Ida, and BBK. So I'm going to be going with Freerin, who's going to be at 260 speed here on Warhorn, so that I can dish out as much damage on turn one. And then I'll be going with sorry, before I show the Briar, Ida is going to be on Super Duper Water Gun so that I can have an extra 10% effectiveness to be 200F. And I'm going to be going on a speed immunity build, but mainly it's just to have like high HP and high effectiveness and make it slower than my Briar so that my Briar can clean up after with double Torrent immunity on Symbol. And the whole idea behind this is, there's three AoEs, so most people will want to look to pick to bring some form of like Young Senya, I think. And if they bring Young Senya with, say, like Yolha or something like that, I'll be able to nuke them down because Freewind gets a bunch of damage out on the first S3, and then Festive Ida is going to go for these defense break into silence after Young Senya procs. And then once their defense broken and everything, hopefully Briar's going to be able to do enough damage with the S3 to kill. This is going to be really high damage, especially when their defense broken, so it should be pretty okay, especially if Ida also gets that fixed damage when Yenya procs her out of the stealth. The second team is going to be a little bit interesting. I'm trapping from something very specific. So I'm going to be going with Bossarunka, who's double HP immunity on Proof of Valor, 35k with 2.2k defense. And then Setsuka is going to be at 268 on Secret Art Storm Sword with 22k HP. And the reason why we're going with like a relatively faster one is so that if they go for like the Shinji Luna Strays comp, then if they go for like a Luna S3, then she's going to cut and then apply S3. And one of the lose conditions is if they have like a slower Strays with a slower Shinji, so it can cleanse after the Setsuka where they're really tight in speed RNG. Maybe they're like a 10 to 12 speed difference. Then I'm going to be having my Jan Ras at 270 so that I'm going to rip the S3, and this is still going to do a really good amount of damage to at least kill the Strays. It might not be able to kill Shinji or the Luna, but it'll for sure be able to kill the Strays off as the third unit since he won't have immortality or invincibility. And obviously Precious Connection for more damage. I don't have a Wings of Lightning Shadow plus 30, so I would run that instead, but we're going to be going with this for max HP, and this will be able to kill, and that way we won't lose any variations of that. And hopefully we can get just one defense because obviously in the new format, one draw is pretty much all you need against the opposing guild. So these will be the defenses in the first round, I guess, because we're a round of 32. So Monday, October 27 will be the first day of the tournament. So hopefully this will get a defense win. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't, but at least you guys will be able to see what we used in the tournament, so you guys can use it for your own defenses. But I guess I'll see you guys on the next set of defenses in 2 days. All right, so for the second defense that I had ran in the next round of the tournament, first team is Briar, Ida, and Freerin. So it's a little bit of a different setup compared to the first go around. Because what ended up happening is people were bringing like Harsetti, Belly, and Flan, or they were just still like Yang Yang and they were still winning. So I opted to change my builds just slightly. So basically, I went for a Freerin on a Desho Torrent build on Knowledge Seed. And the reason why I went with Knowledge Seed is because it adds another layer of RNG where I can get Gab or Briar. I can obviously get crit res, evasion, and stuff like that. But the main thing I was kind of gunning for was either increased greater attack buff, or if I can get some form of like evasion, increased defense, so that Ida can be tankier and stuff like that. So I basically just had her at 226 so that she goes first if people did try to bring the what do you call it, the Yenya setup to kill me. I can still get my S3 damage up because I have the self attack buff, and I can just rip all my damage out into the Yolha, and then she'll just die, and then she'll grant the buffs for my team. And then I went with Festive Ida, and I changed her build over to Proof of Valor. And the reason I went with Proof of Valor is because I wanted her to be in a position where she can kind of like 1v2, 1v3, because when they bring like Balian, Flan, Harsetti, they go like Yenya, Yolha, Festive Ida on POV, because she can't get, she can't die. And then she has her, stealth, and then she can have a higher stun chance when she's stealth. It made her very obvious option because there's going to be guaranteed AoE coming at me. So I want to have her as much damage as possible with the HP rather than relying on landing defense breaks with effectiveness. I went for the full HP build so I can maximize the damage on the S2. And then last but not least, I went to Briarwish Iceria on a double torrent immunity build on Symbol of Unity. And I mean, it's very obvious why I decided to go for immunity, but in case you don't know why, it's because just in case there is some kind of like for example, in the Harseti Bellion Flan setup, if they have, Abyssal Crown with Harseti, I can't get stunned. If they have good tuning, right, and then the Flan's able to push the Bellion forward, I can't get provoked. I can still guarantee my S3 to go out, which was one of the most pivotal changes that I made for kind of the setup. Just packing damage and packing immunity to guarantee my turn. So even if Yenya died, in either setup versus those comps, she was able to just throw her damage out, or if she died versus the Bellion setup, then Flan and Eda and Briar can just solo kill or 2v3 from that spot. Then my second team was Festa for Witch of the Mirror Tenebria at 315 on Cursed Compass so that I can get 50% more effectiveness on the first turn. And I'll explain in a little bit more detail in just a moment. Then I had my boss Arunka, who was on reversal set on Holy Sack with HP. I needed to make sure that this is the highest HP so that in case people were going to bring strays into me, Barunka could come back and then she can get 50% combat readiness from the reversal set, which was very, very important. And then I had Genesis Ras on Elbrus, also with Destro and HP. And so the whole idea for this comp is most people are just going to bring like a mid, strays, and ARAM, right? And by having my Witch of the Mirror Tenebria at 315, I can contest a lot of people who were trying to aim and race me, and I can just punish, right? It's pretty much just gear gap, right? Anyone that tries to race the Tenebria have pretty good odds of outspeeding someone, considering I'm a pretty decently fast player. And then as soon as I could land my debuffs on the aim and strays comp, I mean they're basically instantly dead, right? So that's why we specifically wanted to make this setup to target the Sinjis, so that people don't like blind Sinji, or sorry, not Sinji, Amid into me. Did it work? Unfortunately, not. Actually, I did get a defense win, so I will show it. But unfortunately, a lot of people just decided to tank it down, which is kind of the smart thing to do, and not go for the ego race. But just in case someone did, I made sure that I was fast enough to punish them if they did. But those are the defenses on the second war, which was October 29, and I'll show the defenses that we made for October 31st, which was our most important war versus Veraritoss. So let me set those up, and then I'll show you what they look like. All right, so here's the defenses that we ran versus Veraritoss. So it's a very specific setup in the way that we made this defense. For the first defense, we were expecting them to maybe bring like Lidica into this defense, because that's a really common answer when you run Lidica free to Selene, where you don't care about the souls, and obviously Selene does fairly well versus the Arya, actually gets injured. So the way that we tuned this is we had a reversal Holy Sack Barunka, so that can come back for and get 50% combat readiness. Additionally, we had her at 190 speed, so you can see on some of the substats there's 12 speed here, 12 speed, 8, 7. So we had speed boot obviously, so that when Lidica does push us back, we at least cut 50% of the CR bar after she goes for the S2, S3, right? So that was really important to have the speed here with the Holy Sack. Our Illinev was on Rise of a Monarch on speed set so that it could cycle the barriers for the Arunka to try to keep the Arunka alive as long as possible. And obviously, as soon as he gets the S3 off, because Lidica is not able to push back the whole team, so the Illinev getting the Indom up was very crucial. And then the barrier is scaled with his HP, so we opted for a speed HP set, as you can see here. And then the third unit that we had was Arya on Prayer of Solitude. So we went with a speed build so that we can cycle really fast, right? So we can apply a lot of pressure onto the Selene, where, we are not going to get one shot when Selene counters us. We're going to be able to just like cycle and just try to do damage and try to injure her down ASAP and try to work her down. Unfortunately, this comp was not successful. They didn't bring the Lidica comp that we were expecting, that we trapped for, because how this comp actually wins is when Arunka comes back and we finally get the rotation. Arunka S3 needs to go on Selene, right? As soon as the Arunka goes on Selene and doesn't crit, it's pretty much a winning spot. So we had to go like 1 in 3 chance to just win as soon as we take our turns. But unfortunately, just they didn't bring that into our comp, so it didn't really work out, unfortunately. The second defense This was we were kind of metagaming with Veraritoss a little bit. So I was put into a fort, and the whole concept of our defense here was to condition the attackers from Veraritoss. And what does that mean by condition the attackers? So like we kind of had a general idea of like what Veraritoss were going to be running in their attacks, particularly because Envy, which is one of the arena content creators for Epic 7, or I guess he just makes regular content on E7. Shout out to Envy Epic 7 if you guys don't know who he is. But basically, he was posting his attacks, and we were like, oh, like they're running like a Carmen, Arunca setup. They're running, you know, a Renact Veronica setup, Celine Ruel Bellion setup, where they had like a few different comps that they kind of like rotated around. So we had like a general idea in terms of like how they would play. And so the reason why we made my defense a fast setup is because we were trapped. Like I was personally trapping for anyone trying to go for like a Luna setup, right? Now I'll show the defense before I talk a little bit further. So my Lady of the Scales is on Soulcon at 310, and then my free run is going to be at Symbol Speed 270 speed. And then my BBK was at 225 on basket. I know it's missing crit, but this is as fast and as much damage as possible we could make. But basically, our idea in our mind, shout out to Kyle and everyone from Palladia who, you know, theory crafted this concept, was if they scouted the big four and they're like, oh wow, like they have a Luna trap, right? That's going to deter them from using Luna in the rest of their attacks, because they would expect that all the other free run scales BBK defenses would also have some type of anti-Luna, right? So in that way, we're conditioning their mind to be like, okay, we have to like tank it down, right? Like they're expecting us, like Veraritoss, like we have really good gear, we're fast players, you know, they're expecting us to cleave. But no, like we set up a bunch of landmines in all of our small towers where they were like anti-tank setups, they were rope setups, they were effectiveness setups. So that way, like the two free run scales BBK setups that we had in our forts were both specifically the anti-Luna setup, so they would not go for Luna cleaves. Because to be completely honest, if they just ego Luna cleaved us, they would clear all of our free run defenses. Like all of them would fail outside of maybe one or two, and we would probably get full cleared really easily. But by conditioning their mentality on the attack to like reconsider what they bring, then they ran into a lot of landmines, and then they started like dying with the tank down, with the Ruel Bellion setup, with the Carmen setup. Like everything died. Like we were just killing them off one by one slowly throughout the throughout that stage or the quarterfinal. So yeah, I just want to give you like a little bit of background information in terms of like, it's like at high level Guild Wars, like especially when the stakes are that high, it's not really just about like making a trap like for myself to get a defense win. Like a lot of it also is like mind gaming your opponent too, to be like, oh my god, like this guy's running like this type of setup, we can expect this type of setup in the other defenses, right? And then that way, like every single defense is a little bit different, so they don't really know what to bring, right? As soon as like the anti Luna gets spotted, they're not going to bring Luna. As soon as they spot like, oh, this is like a anti Carmen setup, okay, we're not going to bring a Carmen. Then they bring like a Bellion setup, and then they run into that one tower that's specifically trapping for the Bellion setup, then they lose, right? So that's kind of like the mentality that we had going into the defense, like collectively throughout the tournament, to like work together rather than just work as like individual like defenses and like try to just get a shield on your own and cook some random bullshit. Because we kind of knew that like at this level, like everyone's really fucking good and everyone's going through all the possible lose conditions. So we really had to like take it up a notch to try to like, you know, get an advantage to winning. So yeah, that's why we have the round two set up very specifically. But anyways, I will show the next defense, which is November 3rd, which is the semifinal versus Necrophilia. So we'll get into that right now. Okay, so for the next setup that I had run, for the first team, it's Harsetti, Ras, and Celine. So Harsetti was on Fairy Tail on Destro, so that can maximize damage on turn one and just every subsequent turn after the fact. And then I had my Ras on Injury on Elbrus, so that in case we did get hit on the Harsetti or the Celine, I had chances to Elbrus to just get extra odds to counter and then push ahead, since the S1 did have 25% combat readiness gain, and then I can apply Injury as well. And then the last unit, last but not least, we had Celine on a double torrent pen set on Master of the Nightmare. The whole concept for this defense is, you might be thinking, like, as the viewer, you're like, oh wow, this is like easy Yenya, Ilanav, GG, it's free, right? But in high level Guild War, like positioning and defenses is really important as well. So, you know, if I had Celine on the bottom side here, you'd be like, oh, like easy Yenya, right? Because there's no Bastion of Pelucia. But when a scout looks at this defense, because my Celine is positioned in the back, they're gonna be thinking, oh wait, like what if Ras is on, Bastion of Pelucia, right? Then that means the fixed damage from Yenya is not going to be able to kill, right? Because 27%, at max is 30%, right? 30% barrier Bastion on a 30k HP unit sometimes is a lot of HP, right? Like that's like over like 9 to 10k HP on the Celine, so she'll be able to tank it, immortality, and then it's kind of like a dud, right? So that was kind of the mind game that I was going for here. And then Celine was just going for Master of the Nightmare for extra odds. You could have ran like Dust Devil or something, but I wanted to get the extra turns because the extra turns means that I would be one step closer to getting to my S3 on the turns that I got for S1. And it gives me pretty good damage for the attack. It didn't work. I'm just gonna let you know that right now. The second setup is very specific. It was kind of inspired by Lucira. If you guys watched my Veraritoss Guild War video, which was I think a few days ago, I was inspired by when I was racing the Tenebria with Renak. I was like, he was 99% of me, right? So I was like, oh, maybe I should do that kind of setup too, right? Because when you look at this comp, there's like double AoE, so most people want to try to bring like Yenya or something like that. So I went with Tenebria on Warhorn on a max speed setup. 315. And then I went with Freeran, who was on Symbol of Unity on Destro. I should actually show the Briar first. So Briar had 363 effectiveness with Curse Compass, and I had her at 211 speed, which is why the Freeran is tuned to go after the Briar. So basically, if they try to tank down, they would die, right? If they brought Yenya, then Yenya gets the turn, but because they're blocked and they have CC on them, they can't get cleansed, right? Which is why I had the Tenebria, and because I'm really fast, they decided to go for some type of like Renac setup, right? Taking advantage of the fact that Briar would get procced by Immortality by the fixed damage. Then I could race with the 315 as well, and then the Briar would S3 with Curse Compass into the deck pick at 363 effectiveness, and then Freeran would then go and then just rip all the damage out with Destro Torrent and then just try to nuke them. Yeah, that was the setup. It didn't really work, unfortunately, because they kind of played around it and they found a really good comp. But this was the setup that I had going into the semifinals. And last but not least, we will go into the last defense that I ran in the Guild War tournament. All right, so last but not least, this is the defense that I had going into the grand finals. So my first setup, I had Conquer Lilius on top speed on Warhorn for maximum outspeed potential, maximum damage increase for the whole team. Then I had Saria, who was at 183 on Destro Torrent on Renewed Will. And Aiden is 165 on Double Torrent Pen Set on Summer Photogenic. So my idea was, first of all, Saria was like a new unit. So I was like, oh, maybe if I throw her on defense, it'll, maybe confuse them. They won't really know like how the UI works. They don't know like what to do. Also, one thing that's unique about this setup is Conquer Lilius provides vigor for the whole team, right? As you can see. Now, the Aiden's going to be able to get combat readiness every single turn, right? When I have vigor. So I'll basically get 40% CR after Conquer Lilius' turn. So I would take the turn after Conk. And then after the Aiden goes, then my Saria, who got 30% CR, after there's an extra turn, basically it'll go Conk into Aiden, into Saria. Everyone has invince. So it's, not people wouldn't blind Benny Maru in the tournament, so it would be go Kong into Aiden, into Saria, Invince, into Aiden again, because I had the Renewed Will set up, and then extra attack for Aiden to try to just one-shot, and obviously this gives damage increase as well, and then it just, unfortunately, again, it didn't work, but that was a cook that I tried to see if it would work, just to see if it would throw them off a little bit. The second setup was pretty specific. This is a triple AoE setup, so I wanted to make it look like, you can't Zeo it and you can't Yenya it. Why can't you Zeo it? Because if I'm double guiding Light on Litica and Opsig, you have to hit into Freeran, right? And because Freeran has potential defensive magic, it's going to be very problematic because you're pushing the team forward, right? That's number one. Number two, you're not really going to be able to go for the Yenya because Yenya is reliant on Fighting Spirit. And, though she is very good into triple AoE, but if Litica reduces that Fighting Spirit, you're cooked, right? So that was kind of the setup that I was going for. So I had Litica at 315 on Renewed Will, on Restrict EE to push my team forward. My Opsig was on Elegite Candle as I have it plus 30, and I did have some effectiveness and some speed and crit on her. In hindsight, I think maybe just going like really fast in my best effectiveness gear, if I could change it. But this is the setup that I went for, a little bit of damage and also with effectiveness, so that I could, if I had to do damage, it just do a little bit of fluff so that it would be at least a little bit impactful, right? And then my free run was on the speed torrent build on simple. So the whole idea was just Litica goes into Opsig, Opsig goes for the pushback, Candle Death Break into free run sweep. Once again, it didn't work. I tried, didn't work, but that was the cook that we had, and yeah, I guess I'll move into like some closing thoughts in terms of the defense because I have a lot to say. So yeah. All right, so if you made it to this part of the video, I just want to say thank you for supporting Palladia in the Guild War tournament. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the defenses that I had run for this tournament. They were not. I wish I got more shields because I would have had more impact in the tournament. But sometimes that's just how the dice roll, right? Sometimes sometimes you trap them, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they bring like weird comps that you couldn't have predicted. And that happened a lot of the time because people had to get very innovative in the Guild War tournament as we were ourselves. So hats off to all the guilds that we fought against that put up a really good showing. And honestly, it was a very fun experience. Just the camaraderie of working together, testing defenses, testing offenses, changing the builds, going back in. So many nights, I can't even count how many, where we would have like, 5+, 10+ people in the call, just testing defenses, testing attacks, going in mock battles, adjusting things, seeing if it's possible, also seeing like, what certain guilds like to run on offense, and then trying to trap those comps and try to like figure out like what's the 1% win condition, what's the 1% loss condition, how can we get like higher percentages in winning. Yeah, it was just really fun overall. I think my guildmates that do watch this video, I do want to say a huge thank you to everyone who contributed. I know you guys only get to see like me and my channel, and I'm kind of known as like the Guild War guy, but I really mean it when I say that like everybody, like there are so many Guild War players that are far, far, far better than myself. And I don't even mean that lightly. Right? It's a very long list. But just being able to like learn from these people, in Palladia, right? Being able to like be parts of the discussion of, saying, oh, what if we try this artifact? What if we change this build? What if we increase this? Or like, what if we run like, double effectiveness artifacts like water gun and the other like 3-star or 4-star artifact on the other units to get more increased effectiveness odds, and like just there's so many things, and it's just Guild War is a very, very fun mode. It's a very interactive mode. It's a very cooperative mode, as you guys know. So yeah, I'm just very honored to kind of be a part of Palladia's run, and even if we didn't win, I would have been totally fine with it, just because of the fact that how much fun that we had. But yeah, shout out to the Palladia guys in kitchen. You guys all know who you are, so I won't say too much. But on that note, Palladia is recruiting. So if you guys are looking to get a taste of what competitive Guild War looks like, we are going for a casual top 3 next season. So yeah, DM me if you guys are interested. But if you made it to this part of the video, once again, please drop a like, comment for the algorithm, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day or weekend. So take care. Bye.